On the Black Star Network. Folks, we got a dynamic show for you today. First, let's talk about the Brittney Griner situation as the proposal from Washington came to Russia to say, hey, if we give you your guy, can you give us the WNBA star and Paul Whelan back to us? Will Russia take the offer? That's the big question. We'll have that conversation. Also, talking about politics, should the Democrats criticize their own president? That's the big question, especially during a midterm election. I'm going to share with you my thoughts as we check in with Hassan, Mr. Politics Giordano. Very, very lively conversation you can expect there. Also, can we talk about the power of student voice, how it has been official that Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas will not be teaching at GWU Law School. We'll just share with you why student voice matters. And then later, IG is making some changes to its platforms, some new changes. However, some old users are saying, wait a minute, hold up, this is getting too much. How about we just want to see some cute pictures of our friends? We'll talk about that. And I got some great things for Trends Posting doing the most. So stay with us. That's all happening on today's edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's go. Folks, welcome to the show. Welcome. Happy Thursday. Folks, yesterday we had a conversation, just briefly, if you remember, we checked in with one of our foreign policy analysts, the professor of African-American history and foreign policy, Dr. Gerald Horn. We had a conversation just briefly about the fact that the White House has extended an offer to Russia for the release of Brittney Griner, the WNBA star who has been detained since February, along with another American, Paul Whelan. Now, this offer is saying, look, if we give you your guy, Victor Bout, who is considered to be, quote unquote, the merchant of death for Russia, if we give him you, can you give her back to us? Now, since that announcement that was made yesterday afternoon, a lot of people are saying that this is a good offer. But the question still remains, will Russia accept the offer? Now, one of the big things that about this whole situation is this, folks, and I want to share with you just some things to consider that usually the United States don't do prisoner swaps. This is a policy that's been with the not just with the Biden administration, but for many past administrations. But let me just share with you a little bit more about the statement coming from the White House and Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. The statement here says, quote, and NPR reported that it marked the first time that the U.S. government has publicly revealed any concrete action it has taken to secure the release of Griner, who was arrested on drug-related charges at a Moscow airport in February and testified at her trial. Now, Blinken, who serves as the Secretary of State, did not offer details on the proposed deal, which actually was offered weeks ago, and it is unclear if it will be enough for Russia to release the Americans. But the public acknowledgement of the offer at a time when the U.S. had otherwise shunned Russia reflects the mounting pressure on the administration over Griner and Whelan and its determination to get them home. This is a very interesting situation. Now, this is the other part of it, which I think is even more interesting and makes this case even more compelling. The United States government, this is all coming as reported by NPR, the United States government has long resisted prisoner swaps out of concern that it could encourage additional hostage taking and promote false equivalency between a wrongfully detained American and a foreign national, regardless as justly convicted. But an earlier deal in April, in which Marine veteran Trevor Reed was traded for jailed Russian pilot Konstantin Yaroshenko, appeared to open the door to similar resolutions in the future. And the Biden administration has been hounded with political pressure to bring home Griner and other Americans designated as unjustly detained. So to be in this space right now with this, given this situation, this is not a normal thing, folks. This is something that the Biden administration is actually kind of a little bit further along than past administrations to try to get someone who the United States government deemed to be justly detained for somebody who the foreign nationals or Americans says is unjustly detained. And so this is an interesting place, especially in the relationship that the United States is in with Russia, another major superpower in the world. We wanted to have this conversation with you, so make sure you post your comments on this. Do you think that Russia should take the offer? Do you think that it is in Russia's best interest, especially considering that Russia is also, of course, in war with Ukraine, and we can say indirectly is in war with the West, with the United States leading the charge? Let's bring in our culture crew member, political analyst. He is the owner and founder of DMV Daily Media Group, Mr. Hassan, Mr. Politics Giordano. Brother Hassan, thank you so much, brother, for checking in and being a part of this conversation. Always good to have you. So what are you seeing about this, Hassan? Do you think that this is a quote unquote a good deal for Russia and for the United States of America, or is it one-sided?
No, certainly not one-sided. I think, if anything, I think Russia benefits from this because the merchant of death, Victor, actually he's been under American imprisonment for 10 years now. He was one of their biggest arms dealers from Russia, convicted here in America, and they've been trying to get him home for quite some time. And so, Brittney Griner, let's not forget, they're also throwing in Paul Whelan because America, no way, no how would ever negotiate this type of level for a black person by themselves. So they had to throw the white guy in there, right, to make sure that they got something out of the deal. Let's
just keep it 100. Okay.
Right. I don't care who she is. I don't care what team she plays for WNBA, how much pressure they putting on it. It wasn't going to be her solely. And that's why they, you threw in the Paul Whelan, whose family has been a nail in the side of a lot of administrations since he's a former corporate security executive from Michigan who in 2020 got 16 years in prison for quote unquote espionage charges. Right. So he's been thrown in the side of the Biden administration since the start. And so they felt like, okay, now we have this Brittney Griner situation, which, mind you, I don't think the Biden administration would have moved this quickly had it not been for one, the NBA, not that WNBA, but the NBA got involved highly, as well as SportsCenter and surrounding sports leagues. So you heard about almost every day on SportsCenter for quite some time. Her wife, Brittney Griner's wife, has been very adamant about bringing her home and very active in her efforts to make sure that she's not forgotten about. Look, Brittney Griner hasn't even been convicted yet. Now, we knowing how the Russian courts operate, I would assume that they're not going to make any such deal until she finally is convicted and sentenced. And I think they'll give her a very harsh sentence, probably the maximum of that, at least 10 years.
She's facing that.
Right. And we're talking about cartridges that did have marijuana in them, right? And so in America, we see that as a very minor offense. In other countries, you can not only just be in prison, but be killed for transporting and smuggling drugs. And I'm telling you, there's dozens, if not hundreds of Americans right now, not only in Russia, but other countries across the world who would love for America to make these type of offers for them, who, again, were as guilty as Brittney Griner, because it wasn't like she's innocent. She actually smuggled these drugs. They are drugs. They're considered controlled, dangerous substances in Russia and almost every other country, including America. She could have gotten arrested for it. And so let's not, make light of as if she got, found guilty or, let's say, charged now and about to be found guilty for something that wasn't her fault. No, it was. She packed it. She admitted to packing it. She said it was a mistake, nonetheless, and that a doctor ordered it. But trust me, I watched enough Locked Up or Locked Up Abroad and to catch a smuggler to know that we've got plenty of Americans who would love to have this deal. Unfortunately, they don't rise to the level of a Brittney Griner or even a Paul Whelan, and they don't have the advocacy level here at home that they do. But nonetheless, I think it's time for America to look at the way their interest in this, because honestly, to be quite honest, I'm not sure we wanted to release somebody like the Merchant of Death back to Russia, which is going to be a problem for America in the future.
High profile prisoner swap, right? My thinking is, considering the already tense relations that America has with Russia as it relates to the Ukraine-Russian war, how do you think that plays into this whole scenario? I mean, it's sanctions have been imposed by America on Russia. Russia is leading the charge of its allies. I mean, America's leading the charge of its allies against Russia. I mean, there's a lot of tension in that relationship. How do you think that's going to play out?
Well, I think it's going to play out huge, right? There's a reason why that Secretary of State Blinken hasn't even spoken to their Moscow partners since February 15th, right? A week before this escalation started in the Ukraine. And so, we're talking about what everybody's talking about, which is the release of these prisoners. But also what the Secretary of State said is, we're also going to talk about a UN brokered deal that would free up multiple tons of Ukrainian grain from storage from Moscow, and warning them on the dangers of Russia being able to attempt to take over the annexed portions of eastern and southern Ukraine. So it's not just about this is their way of kind of leveraging a conversation about a bigger effort. What's going on in Ukraine? How do we move forward? How do we get past this conflict, right? So they're using this as a basis for a conversation, but I can almost guarantee, and I won't be in that room, and I'm sure nobody watching this will either, but those conversations, I'm sure, will go way beyond Brittney Griner, way beyond Paul Whelan, and I really don't think that Russia is going to settle for just bringing home Victor Bout. I really think that they're going to ask for even more, because they realize that they have the leverage in this situation, and they're going to make America pay as much as possible if they want these two detainees back home.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about, and I'm going to ask this question not out of a space of diminishing the value of Brittney Griner as an individual, but in the big scheme of things, as much as she's a player in the WNBA, as much as she's a player even across seas, what do you foresee as being the big value for Russia to say, okay, we'll let her go? And you know what I mean? Like in the big scheme of things, she's still an American, right? Mm-hmm. And so, we're talking about one individual, but does this one individual help to shine a light on Americans that are detained across the globe? Do you think that it's going to change anything in how, of Americans' relationship with other countries when it comes to its prisoners?
Well, I think this probably has more to do with Putin and his image, right? Putin cares more about his image than he cares about the country itself, right? Let's make no mistake about that. And so he realizes that now this war has dragged on way too long, that a lot longer than he expected in the beginning, I'm sure, putting this together. He has to realize what an exit strategy looks like. And Brittney Griner, regardless of what you may think about or feel about the fact that, why are you doing this? And there's thousands of Americans in other countries that will love the same services. Brittney Griner is beloved in this country just based off of the PR campaign that her wife, that WNBA, the NBA have put together. And so you can best believe that Putin understands that as well. So if they're going to do some kind of prisoner swap, he understands that this could benefit him in terms of his imaging, trying to wrap up this war with Ukraine and move forward and kind of save face to some degree. And I think this helps him. Paul Whelan, nobody knows Paul Whelan other than his family, right? And some American government officials. But Brittney Griner is, to them, that is the end all be all. That is something that Putin can work with. And that's why I think that this is going to be tied in to whatever comes from the end of Ukraine and that conflict. It's not just about a prisoner release. It's going to come with politics being played, because Putin realizes we have a huge leverage with Ms. Griner being in their custody. And that's why I said they're not going to do anything until the courts find her guilty. Otherwise, they're not going to be looked at as the good guy, but rather the bad guy, saying, okay, well, why do you have her illegally detained? Once their courts convict, and we know Russian courts are a sham, they're going to convict regardless. He can then say, she did something illegal. Our courts found her guilty, but out of the kindness of my heart, we're going to make sure that he comes back to America unharmed. And that's the Putin way.
So here's the other question about, American athletes traveling abroad to play sports. Does this impact that business relationship as well? Do you foresee that, if Brittney Griner is released, that there's going to be a little bit more regulation on who goes to where, and especially some of our high profile athletes. And I'm thinking of even during the Summer Olympics and in other opportunities where athletes are traveling across different continents. You think anything will change in that respect?
I know it should be in the back of the mind of these athletes. If it isn't, then they should definitely start thinking about it, right? They're doing a disservice to themselves and to their families. I don't think it's going to affect the sport itself and how international sports is playing out and the contracts that are being given. But I do think that it could be a way that if America does negotiate with Russia and it is successful to whatever level, that other adversaries of America could start to see this and begin to target Americans, right? Especially high-profile Americans that they believe now that they can use as an asset for leverage to be able to try to do the same thing. And that's why America has always had a policy of not negotiating with terrorists, because once you open this door, and you can best believe other countries and other individuals are watching this, now you give the green light for those who have said, okay, America has never been one to negotiate with terrorists, but if they're willing to do it for Brittney Griner, let's see if we can get LeBron James. And that doesn't mean that he would be doing anything illegal. I can best believe they will set him up if they have to, as long as they feel as if they can try to justify that, to try to leverage America into a deal that they want, whatever that deal may be. So I would caution America, on how they do this deal, how publicized this deal is and what comes from it, and also American athletes on how they travel and where they travel.
And real quick, before we get to our comments from our viewers, Hassan, why did they wait weeks after the deal was actually offered to make the announcement? Why do you think that happened?
Well, with these type of negotiations, you try not to make them as public as much as possible because you never know what's going to happen, right? And so, these type of things, you want to get what we call backdoor deals, right? And you want to make sure that they're getting done. And by the time the public knows, hopefully the deal is already taking place so that they don't get derailed. Because in many cases, things like this happen, everybody starts talking about it, and then all of a sudden others get weary, right? Now, Putin may now say, oh, well, he's not feeling the love from America that he would have thought. So now the deal's off, right? Because the whole thing was about his image, so there's a lot of things that can play out in negotiations like this that you usually don't. Governor Richardson from down New Mexico is a great negotiator. And matter of fact, he is one who traveled to Russia on behalf of the Brittney Griner situation and many other hostages we've had across in other countries over the past few decades. And so you've never heard about them. All you usually hear about is when they're coming home. And there's a reason behind that, right? There's what they say, a reason behind the madness. And so, I'm a little upset that it is coming out. I think this is Biden's way of, because there's so much pressure about Brittney Griner right now, that their family is acting like Biden's not doing anything, which is then translating to Congress, which is being pushed by Sports Center, NBA, and big money interests. And so now I think that they almost had to put something out just to kind of calm people down and say, hey, we are doing something. Just because you didn't see it doesn't mean it wasn't happening. But now they had to show their hand to some degree. Now, how that plays out in the end is, could be detrimental to the Griner family. It may be beneficial. We'll see.
That is a great point. All right, let's get to some of our comments as folks are checking in. Folks, we've been talking about Brittney Griner, talking about the deal that has been offered to Russia from the Secretary of State in the Biden administration to bring Brittney Griner back home. The big question now is, will Russia take the offer? Will they take this deal? Danita checked in. Danita, good to hear from you, sis. You said, look, this is a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation. That's interesting. Do you feel it? That's the dynamic of this, Hassan?
I do. I think he makes a great point, only in the sense that okay, again, we just talked about it. If you do make this deal from the American standpoint, you get celebrated because you get Brittney Griner home. The Paul Whelan family is happy, all is well. But then you also release a 25-year arms dealer who's one of the biggest arms dealer out of Russia. You give them back to Putin, and you start making your enemies start to look up and say, oh, that's how you carrying it now? Well, let's see. Obviously, the Biden administration must be weak, so let's go start kidnapping more Americans, right? But on the flip side of that, you also bring home an American superstar, and so it is a there is a no-win situation in America's sense in this entire case to me. Now, from Russia, it's a win-win because Putin can use this to his greatest advantage, and I think he's going to try to do everything he can to leverage as much as he can to get as much as he can out of this deal.
Oh, no doubt about that. All right, Sophia, thank you for checking in. Good to hear from you, sis. You said we are going to realize that we Americans aren't the superpower bully that we thought we were. I feel like, honestly, Hassan, that, that image is slowly shedding away. That over these past few years, I'm not just talking about this administration, I'm talking about the Obama administration. There has been a little bit more of, we really don't run the world like we think we do. People really are making decisions without us. And people are taking advantage of, I think, seeing how that we don't have the resources. We don't always have the military capacity. We certainly don't always have the public sentiment in countries around the globe, as you mentioned earlier. They know what's going on in America. They play off of that, right? And so we don't come in through the room anymore thinking that we're the biggest, we got the big stick. I see that falling apart. What do you see?
Oh, absolutely. I think it's been diminishing since the Reagan administration. You saw even after the Reagan administration, the first Bush and the war that we had with Saddam Hussein, and that started diminishing the power. It's really since the breakup of the USSR, right? Back in the Soviet Union days, there was this mantra, it was a mindset that America had the button that they could push as did Russia. And so it was a stalemate between the two, right? And that nothing would happen as long as one had the other and the other had the other, because you just blow up the entire world. And since the breakup of the USSR, you started to see that, okay, they weren't that powerful. And if they weren't that powerful, then clearly America's not that powerful. And then we started losing allies across the board. And so now, I mean, we're almost a joke when it comes to foreign countries, right? I mean, we got China who's over there playing footsies with Putin and Russia. They're waiting and chomping at the bit to come after America. You have a lot of Islamic countries who are already upset with America for the way they did the Iran deal, how they did with Iraq, Afghanistan, and how they left people. And so, now they started making more enemies than they have allies, and always defending Israel. So now it's almost like America and Israel versus the world. And the world's looking at them like, yeah, y'all ain't got nothing on us. So if you really want that, you want to be about that life, we about that life. And America realizes right now they ain't about that life.
They ain't about that.
See them
hey, look, man, especially over the past few years when Trump was in office, now that people can see that there's a huge divide in America, and they can see that the public is divided. They know that our technology, the technology that we use, our cybersecurity is not as strong as there a lot of weaknesses about our country has been televised and has been shown all around the world. So I would agree with you that countries around the globe are just looking. They may not be saying anything, but they definitely taking note that the big bad America may not be as big or bad as it used to be. Let's go to get one final comment. Janelle checked in. Always good to hear from you, Janelle. You said that's been the problem for decades. We've been systematically drilled to believe the Pledge of Allegiance and the rest of America's myth of real history that we got the big head. Yeah, and American exceptionalism. I think in cases like this, especially given, Hassan, that we have gone into wars, and I'm speaking of, George Bush, the son, George W. Bush, how we jumped into war, how we made decisions based off of lies and just bad information. And so now I think we have to kind of be very cautious about making those type of decisions at this point. And, like Janelle said, we've been thinking, the Pledge of Allegiance, all of these things, but it's like the myth, this idea, we're the greatest country in the world. And I keep telling folks, that's not the case. That is not the case at all. How do you respond to that, bro, in like 30 seconds?
Well, I think especially African Americans in this country should realize that they not believe any damn thing that the American government has taught them, right? Because we have seen since America has been founded that it's been founded off the backs of Black and brown people from the beginning. And they put in this notion that you should believe in God, self, and country, as if country has always been so great to us, when we know that hasn't, right? And history teaches you that. So it should not be a shocker to many that many of the things that we hear about in the news when it relates to, causing conflicts, in other countries and stuff, is not actually the truth, right? It's propaganda. That's what they have an entire CIA for, is for propaganda. Like, y'all watch the movies and you think that stuff is fake. It's not. They're mimicking real life. This is what they do. Trust and believe. But in many aspects, though, Farajii, many of our individuals, based off the mindset and the trained mindset that they've been used to, would not actually be able to handle many of the truths if the American government gave it to them. They just wouldn't be able to comprehend it. So in many aspects, I'm glad that they lie and kind of stretch the truth to the American people, because if the factual truth came out, I'm telling you, a lot of people just would not be able to handle it.
Wow. All right, look, we got to take a quick pause as we move forward. Let's talk a little bit about how this truth-telling might be to the detriment of the Democrats. So let's talk about the fact that in a time like this, where there's so much partisan and there's so many divisions politically, how Democrats criticizing their own president may not be to their advantage, considering we're in an election year. But I'm going to push back on a recent op-ed about this idea, and certainly we're going to bring in Hassan's view, and I want to hear from you. So make sure that you join us in that conversation that's happening up next, right here on The Culture, only on the Black Star Network. We'll be right back.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on that.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share
who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared. You dig?
All right, folks, welcome to the culture right here on the Black Star Network. Let's have a conversation as we just had a discussion about the fate of Brittney Griner in light of a new offer that was posed by the United States government to Russia. It leads us to ask about effectiveness. It leads us to talk a little bit about, you know, where we are in this country. Now, each and every day, we often talk about some of the wins and the losses. And it seems that we can always kind of get in a space where we can discuss the losses that we might be feeling as a country, especially under this administration. Well, according to a new op-ed, always emphasizing the losses, always criticizing the current president, especially if you are a Democrat or if you always lean to the Democratic values, may not be the best course of action, considering we're in an election year. I want to share with you some of the words from this op-ed from Mr. Kurt Bardella, who is an opinion columnist. And let me just share with you what Kurt said, and then we'll break it down. We got our culture crew member and political analyst, Hassan Giordano, and I want to hear from you as well, folks. But listen to what Kurt said. He said this in his piece. Every time you criticize President Biden as a Democrat, you are making the job of the Republican Party easier. Every time you express your dismay with the Biden administration, you are playing right into the hands of Mitch McConnell and Kevin McCarthy. You know what you hardly ever see. You know what you hardly ever see Republicans do a few months out from any election: protest their own people. They get in a lockstep, get on message, and attack Democrats. They can get back to the inner party squabbling after the election. He said Abraham Lincoln was right. A house divided against itself cannot stand. We have to unite. We cannot keep doing the Republicans' job for them. He said, if you don't like how things are going in this country right now, I get it, neither do I. But direct that anger, that frustration, that energy at the Republican Party. All right, let's bring in Hassan. Because I got a little pushback on that. I got a little push. Wait.
Both.
And because, Hassan, you've been in politics a long time, bro. You have done this a long time. You've actually worked on both sides of the aisle for full transparency, right? Mm-hmm. But you, out of a lot of people, understand the dynamics of messaging. You understand sentiment, public sentiment. You understand polls and data and all of those things. You ran campaigns, so you understand all of that. But is this the right approach to have when you're talking about some of the most, I would say, fundamental issues facing any people in this time? Do you just go along to get along to win elections? And I would say, is this election voting, or are we talking about interest voting?
Well, that's the problem, is that Negroes like this kill me. It always reminds me when I hear this, especially from Black people, of Malcolm, Brother Malcolm, who said that anytime that you throw your weight behind any political party that controls the government, and that party can't keep its promise to you that they gave you during the election time, and you're dumb enough to walk around still identifying with that party, not only you're a chump, but you're a traitor to your race. And the problem with our political system is we have too many clueless Americans who really don't know the party system and politics itself of government. And they're running around with this baseless political division. I'm a Democrat. How dare you be a Republican, and vice versa. And they really don't understand that both of them ain't crap. Like, both of them don't really care about the American working class people, especially black people. Let's be honest. Both of them are sitting side by side in Congress. Both of them are passing and cutting backroom deals to enrich themselves as well as their families, while the American people continue to struggle. And you can't sit there and talk about, well, if my party was in charge, we would do this. Your party has been in charge, Democrats. Just because you can't organize right and get it done, don't try to blame it on the Republicans all of a sudden. They have a certain value and a value system and a constituency base that they play to, just like you do, right? You might not like what they believe in and they not like what you believe in, but they both have a constituency base that follows them lockstep. Now, what I will say is Republicans, without a doubt, make Democrats look like children when it comes to staying on message, defining the message, and rallying their troops to the polls around said message, even if that message is the furthest thing from the truth. And the case in point is Obamacare. Obamacare came from Republicans. This was their talking point. This is what they called Affordable Care Act. It got so much so that Democrats, even Obama himself, called it Obamacare one time. Right? Democrats started calling it Obamacare. But here's why I talk about how, and I hate to say it, but how stupid Americans can be. Republicans would talk about how much they can't stand Obamacare and how dare they better not ever pass Obamacare in my state, but I'm so good with my health care that I got from the Affordable Care Act. He realized that the Affordable Care Act is Obamacare, dummy, right? But they never knew that. They really never knew. They thought they were two different things. They thought they were competing healthcare industry, the Obamacare and Affordable Care, not realizing that what you have is Obamacare, you dummy. But they listen to Fox News and they go along to get along. And again, this is this political party mantra that doesn't serve the people at all. I believe that Americans need to start organizing around as independents. I've always been an independent. Right. I work for Democrats and Republicans as a strategist, but because they're the ones paying the bread, the money to do it. They're the dominant parties. But if we started organizing as independents and having an agenda for the American people and not a party, and stuck to that party and stop putting people before personalities before principle, then we could actually get something done in this country. But at the point that we are right now, Farajii, we're headed to a civil war. I'm telling, because both extremes of the party, the left wing and the right wing, have taken over this country. And at some point, it's going to come to a head.
Here's another case that I want us to keep in mind. This is a moment that I won't never forget. When we've been talking about President Trump, talking about all that he has done, and Mitch McConnell specifically still said, this was maybe a month ago or so, he still said, I know Trump is involved. I know he dealt with, I know he was kind of responsible for January 6th. But if he becomes the party's candidate, I'm going to put my full support behind him. Now, this goes against logic to me, right? This goes against everything. Here's a man that talked bad about you in public, insulted you, the way you look, how you go about doing business, the whole nine. And you say, if he's considered to be the candidate, I'm going to put my full support. And I'm saying people say, well, at least they stay on message. And it's but to the detriment of sanity, to the detriment of logic. And that doesn't appeal. When you have political officials who are supposed to be able to make the best decisions, use the right judgment, when they are just blatantly disregarding truth, disregarding any level of facts, blatantly disregarding the sentiment of their constituents, how is that something that should be applauded? How is that something that we should be admiring, staying on message, lockstep with the party, versus saying, hey, man, this is not good for the American people? And I just never, it's just hard for me to wrap my mind around that level of compliance at the expense of everything else. I just don't understand it, bro.
Because you're not, in your mind, the way you live your life is not a capitalistic way, right? You're not doing what you do based off of money and based off of enriching yourself and your family and gaining more power. That's all politics is. I don't care what you say, how you say it, what level of government you are. It's always been about that. The reason why Mitch McConnell, as the party leader, will do that at the detriment of his own self, making his own self look stupid, is because there's a capitalistic mindset. He understands that as a party leader, if he wants the privileges that he has gotten, the finances that he continues to get for him and his family, and the power that he wields, he has to do that. Otherwise, he will no longer hold that position, nor will he ever be in the U.S. Senate anymore because of the money interests that go into it. And people have to realize that once we begin to take money out of politics, then you'll start to see a different political governmental system.
Yeah.
But as long as you have money in politics the way that it is, it's never going to change because the interest is too much, right? They're never going to amend the Constitution or amend what they're doing as long as it keeps empowering them and enriching them. It's just never going to happen. That's like telling a farmer to go kill his crops every other day after you just planted them. Like, why would I do that? Like, you stupid?
Right.
No. You know what I mean? And that's kind of what the sausage making process that people don't want to see that goes on behind the scenes of politics.
All right, let's go take some comments. And Hassan, I got another part of this conversation I want to bring to your attention, but let's go to get some comments. Jay, the dancer. Jay, you checked in. Good to hear from you, Jay. You said they should go after him. He ain't doing nothing. Well, and I know that's a very common refrain from people, right? Because we may not always be hearing about what happens behind the scene, right? So that's more, I think, on his PR side than the actual policy making side, right? They just, for example, a big win that was just reported just before we started the show today is on this chip situation, a chip bill, as they call it, because America is trying to get some handle around cybersecurity issues that the country has been facing. So this chip bill will allow certain chips to be used where they can get some better security. So I wouldn't say he's not doing anything, right? And then we can talk about the climate bill that Joe Manchin and they just agreed upon. I mean, there are things happening, but it's just a matter of not knowing all that happens. But then again, I always ask myself this too, Hassan, like, do we really need to know every single thing? I know people say, well, I didn't know about this. I didn't know about that. I had never heard of that. But do you really want to know? Because government is mundane. Government is tedious. Government is slow. Do you really want to know every single element of government? Is that realistic? How do we temper those two dynamics of not knowing anything and the extreme of wanting to know every single thing to give the proper balance so that the American people can feel like they're informed and yet they still feel like they can be empowered? How do you strike that tone?
It's called the internet. That's the only reason why all of a sudden people want to. I'm telling you.
No, you're telling people to go to the internet? What?
I'm telling you, because before the internet, before social media, people didn't know what bills were, right? They didn't even care about what was in the bill. All they heard was when their senators and delegates, whoever came back to the district, they told them, here's what we passed in Annapolis or in Congress. This is what it does beneficial wise. And you heard it in the news to some degree, but you didn't hear. And really, honestly, Farajii, the legislators really don't. A lot of these bills, like what Manchin, you just talked about, what Manchin agreed on with this climate bill, it's like a 1,700-page bill. These legislators ain't reading it. They get their staff to read it, and half of them don't even want to read it, but they just got to update them on, just bits and pieces of what's in it so they at least know what they're voting on. You give that to the American people, most people ain't reading no 1,700 bill, 700-page bill. Like, come on. It's never going to happen, right? But right. I think the American people do deserve to know what their representatives are doing. I always was baffled by how Congress getting paid at least at the lowest level about $175,000 a year takes more breaks than our public school system. Like literally, they're always on break. Like I've never understood an employment system that allows you to work for 6 weeks and take off for another 3. Then work for 3 months and take off for another 2. Like, where did you do that at? You know what I mean? Like, that's what we're paying them for. So at the end of the day, we need to start demanding better. To say, hey, if you're getting this type of money and you're representing our interests, then we need you working full-time round the clock. You can take weekends off, but that's about it. We don't need you taking 3-4 week, vacations every other month when we have pressing matters before the government, and you see it all the time. When we got a government shutdown this looming or whatever, oh, Congress has to go on recess for the month. Like, what?
Right.
You know what I mean? No, you better stay your butt there and get the damn job done, and then you can go on vacation for about a day or two and then come back and get the job done. Like, you know, we allow too much to happen in this country, and we allow our politicians and our elected officials, let me reiterate that, our elected officials, our representatives, we allow them to get away with, because they represent us. A lot of times these days, we treat them as celebrities, and they think that they run us when they represent our interests. And so, again, that's one of the reasons why I never believed in term limits. Term limits are elections to me. If they're not doing what they're supposed to be doing, get your rusty ducksy off your ass, go and vote, and get them up out of there. Otherwise, don't complain.
Don't complain at all. All right, let's go to Nisa. Nisa, 1971. Always good to hear from you, Nisa. You said, I think voters are mature enough to understand criticism of a Democratic candidate versus the party or the issue at hand. Give people more credit. That's what I always say, too. You know what I mean? Like, there is this double narrative, Hassan, that, you know, you want people to vote, but then if they vote a certain way and that's not based on your preference, your interest, then you criticize them. And I'm talking about people in leadership. I'm not just talking about the average Joe. The leadership is criticizing the voters. Then it's like, well, don't you want people to get engaged? Oh, I see. You want people to get engaged for your interest, not for their own interest. And I think it's absolutely crazy, because that's one of the shining lights probably of our electoral political system, is that people can change their mind. People can say, okay, you don't work for my interest anymore, therefore I'm voting you out. I mean, that's part of that's the risk you take as a political leader. Like, I think we've gotten very, very comfortable and to, you know, Nisa's point of, you know, you just don't give people credit. Everybody thinks that voters are stupid. Like, we just go to the poll and we just we just, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh, okay, who had the best commercial? Let me vote for them. Like, some people really do think about, I think about my vote.
I'm going to tell you something, and y'all might not like this, but this is the truth. Many candidates and a whole lot of political strategists look at voters as cattle. That's all. That they look at them as a mass herd of cattle, and they feel like they're not educated enough for us to spend a lot of time on educating them on the issues. So what we're going to do is we're going to get over by these little fancy sound bites and these commercials that don't really talk about the issues that affect Americans, but kind of just gloss over and make our candidate look well. And many times they continue to fall for it. Nisi's right. It's at the end of the day, you have to be able to be honest with yourself, to be honest with the American. I tell all my clients that if you're not somebody who can go be amongst your electorate and say, you know what, I messed up. That's my bad. I'll make sure that doesn't happen again. Then you don't deserve to be in elected office, because most of them will not do that. They will make sure, you know, they defer, you know, they'll spin it any which way possible. They will never admit fault, and they're human. I mean, we all know people make mistakes. Have enough credit in the American citizenry and your constituents to know that it's okay for you to make a mistake, as long as you acknowledge you made that mistake, take ownership, and make sure it doesn't happen again.
Hassan, I absolutely wish that Black political leaders would just say that. Like, not within, I'm talking about in a very organic and authentic way, say, you know what, man, I really messed up on that. I made a bad decision, you know, based on the information I got. This is why, but you're right. I made a bad. I wish that politicians would say that instead of wait until a situation comes up, a controversy, and then you come on with this very, very, like, you know, orchestrated press conference, and, you know, we've made some, man, no, just say that shit like right out there. Be like, man, look, get the local news camera, like, look, why did you make this? But you know what? I really messed up. I wish politicians say stuff like, man, we effed up real bad out there. You know, bro, we really messed up. But it's just, it seems like, you know, I think part of it is our expectations, right? We have to lower our expectations that these are public servants. They're not really much smarter than we are. Just, you know what I mean? Just because they are in the position that at the end of the day, even though they might be political science majors, even though they might have been in politics for some time, there are some things that are above their understanding that they are kind of trying to work through and understand. Like given COVID, and like if we're in a time of COVID, we're in a time of inflation, we got a war across the seas, we got a public sentiment between red states now versus blue states, and you expect a politician to know how to handle every single situation. I think that's part of the reason why we're in this situation we're in. You expect a politician to know, yes, I've been in this position before. Nobody knew how to deal with COVID.
Right.
Nobody said, hey, man, I got this all figured out. And we have that expectation, and therefore the political leaders, they come out in front of us acting like they knew. I wish somebody said, man, I don't know what the hell is going on. You know what I'm saying? Look, I don't know why the CDC is giving us this guidance today and another guidance tomorrow. Bro, I'm trying to learn myself. I'm telling, you know what I mean? Just have this level of
honesty.
Bro,
but the problem is,
they'd be like, boy, you one of the realest dudes ever. Like, I don't know.
Right. Their problem
stop
is
asking me questions because I don't know. Look, I'm gonna have my man Hassan to ask you.
Right.
To follow up.
What you gotta do.
I don't know. Next question.
Well, the problem is a lot of them think that they're gonna, somehow lose their job because of the people who are gonna,
man, please.
Lower this, and it's not like they hire a bunch of communications people like myself, and most of them though will tell them, no, you want to pivot. You never want to take blame. You want to pivot. You want to go to the next subject, but you never want to take. I'm different. I'm like, look, if you messed up, just tell them you fucked up. Everybody does it, but they don't want. It's like they just don't want to take. I've had one or two clients that have done that, and it's worked. It's been, people respected it. Now, look, you may lose some votes, you may lose some supporters, but hey, at least they respect you. They may not vote for you after that. It just depended on how bad the mess up was, right? But they at least respect the fact that you were at least man enough or woman enough to say, man, I messed that up. But guess what? I'm never going to allow that to happen again. And if you show them that, then trust and believe you're gonna gain a lot more followers in respect than you will lose.
Absolutely. Now, as we wrap up this conversation, in the light of what this op-ed said about just make sure that you don't criticize the president because there is the risk that Democrats will lose power in November. Where do marginalized communities like Black folks, Latino folks, where do we fit in there? Like you started off your remarks on this conversation saying, if we haven't been getting anything of real substance, or we've been seeing very minimum progress in our struggle from both Republicans and Democrats, how does that recommendation or that advice from Kurt, how does that fit? Considering we haven't been getting the type of gains we've been making. So now we can't, now you asking us to get back into, let's just go along to get along with the party for a vote. And we still, that puts us in a position where we can't express ourselves or express our dissatisfaction. Where do marginalized communities fit in this?
Well, I just want to say and make this very clear. And I don't know whoever wrote it, but whoever did write it was the dumbest goddamn person. I wouldn't want them nowhere around me. That was the stupidest op-ed I've ever read. That to me was a slave mentality.
Wow.
Right? That's exactly, and that's really what a lot of our people in a lot of marginalized communities, as you were talking about, have gotten to. A slave mentality. I'm a Democrat because my mama was a Democrat. My dad was a Democrat. My grandma was a Democrat. They don't even realize that Blacks were Republicans way before they were ever Democrats, right? And it was the Republicans, the old Republican Party, that was the first ones to put up the issue of civil rights and voting rights and things of that sort, way before they became Democrats, right? But we don't educate ourselves on stuff like that. And we get into this herd mentality of, I'm this because so-and-so's this, and I'm going to just go along to get along. And when they tell me that I need to jump up and down and scream Democrat for life, then I'm just going to follow that without any education on the process, without any research on it. I'm just going to do that because so-and-so told me to do that. Yeah. And that to me is a slave mentality. Again, I will reiterate as we go off, as Brother Malcolm said, if you are dumb enough to follow a party who you entrusted in yourself, and after an election, they gave you almost nothing at what they promised during that cycle, and you're stupid enough to still identify with them and jump up and down and talk great about them, even though they have failed you, not only are you a chump, but you're a damn traitor to your race.
Damn. Wow. There it is.
Drop the mic.
Drop the mic, bro. Hassan, Mr. Politics, Giordano, always a pleasure. I thank you so much. I really enjoy our conversations on Thursday. So thank you, dear brother. And we look forward to chatting with you again. Thank you for being so good for the culture, Hassan.
Always a pleasure, brother.
Peace. Folks, we got to take a quick pause. When we move forward, let's talk a little bit about the power of student voice. And then later we'll share with you why some IG users are saying their new features are just going to exacerbate an old problem, which is folks are just going to stop using the platform altogether. We'll have that. And of course, we got trends posting doing the most. So stay with us. A lot to get to in the next hour of the culture right here on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Folks, welcome to the second hour of the culture right here on the Black Star Network. Folks, let me just tell you, Thursday is always a great time. If you missed the first hour, we talked a little bit about the situation with Brittney Griner and the asking a big question: will Russia accept the offer from the United States to release Griner? We'll have that conversation. And then also we talked about, should Democrats criticize their own president? And came to a consensus like, if the president's not doing what we asked him to do, then what you expect? We are not election voting, folks. We are interest voting. We had that conversation with Hassan, Mr. Politics, Giordano as well. So if you missed that, check out the replay and trust and believe you will not be disappointed. All right, folks, for the second hour, let's talk a little bit. I wanted to have this discussion around the power of student voice, because there was if you didn't hear, Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas was deciding to do some seminars and to do some talks at the George Washington Law School. However, it looks like that has officially changed. Now, according to the law school, and let me just share this with you, as you can see there, boy, bye. Clarence Thomas will not teach at George Washington University Law School this fall. According to a decision that was made, and this came out of the root, and they, as a result of a statement that came from Mr. Gregory Max, who is a judge on the United States Courts of Appeal for the Armed Forces. This decision was announced in an email from Judge Max. He said, quote, unfortunately, he said, I am writing with some sad news. Justice Thomas has informed me that he is unavailable to co-teach the seminar this fall. He said, I know that this is disappointing. I am very sorry. He wrote this in an email to the class, which was later confirmed by the school's newspaper, the GWU Hatchet. The seminar has not been canceled, but I will now be the sole instructor. For those of you still interested in taking the course, I assure you that we will make the best of the new situation. All right, so that's what he has said in his statement about Clarence Thomas. Now, here's why I talk about the power of student voice, folks. Because when it was announced that Clarence Thomas was going to be the instructor, people, after the landmark decision against Roe v. Wade took place, students started to organize in droves, folks. Last month, a student at George Washington devised an online petition asking the university to end their relationship with Clarence Thomas as a result of his vote to end Roe v. Wade. It stated that his employment at the school was completely unacceptable, and the petition had received over 11,300 student signatures. Now, according to the George Washington Law Dean Dana Bowen Matthew and Provost and Executive Vice President for Academic Affairs Christopher Bracey sent a letter to the students in response saying that it would not end Thomas's class or terminate his employment at the institution. According to the note, it says, because we steadfastly support the robust exchange of ideas and deliberation, and because debate is an essential part of our university's academic and educational mission to train future leaders who are prepared to address the world's most urgent problems, the university will neither terminate Justice Thomas's employment nor cancel his class in response to his legal opinions. I want to get your take on this, folks. I want to get your take on it. Do you think that they should have done that? Now, this is a law school. This is a law school. This is a law school, as I just shared with you, they say that, hey, we pretty much welcome differing ideas. This is part of the society that we want you to go into. But should their line be drawn? In this law school, should George Washington have said, hey, you know what? This is going to be a real problem. And I think more importantly, the fact that you had over 11,000 students who signed this petition saying that Justice Thomas should not be at the school, should not be teaching. Should the university have listened to the students? Share your thoughts with me on this, folks. You can post your thoughts on our YouTube page, on our Facebook page, and let me know. Do you think that this was a good move? Now, essentially, of course, Justice Thomas he decided to bow out of the opportunity. But I'm more concerned about the power of student voice. When students at any school, whether it's a college level, whether it's in law school, hell, it's even in high school, is this a slap in the face of student voice? Share with me your thoughts on this. And I think we should have a robust conversation about this. Now, considering Clarence Thomas's role in the Roe v. Wade situation, personally, I think there should have been some more discussion. There should have been some more discussion. I do understand. Let me just say this. I do understand that that we must be able to have a conversation with people who we do not agree with ideologically. I'm a full advocate of that. As long as that conversation leads somewhere, as long as there is respect within that conversation, unless there's there's a term called constructive dialogue that takes place. As long as that is happening, because you can have people that you talk to that you may not that you're not in agreement with ideologically. But at the end of the day, it's how you have the conversation. In the context of a law school, that could really be fruitful. But so I do understand that. But then the other part of it is trying to make sure that the school doesn't get into a space where it's not listening to the students, especially when students have organized, especially when students have, has gone so far to create a petition, to get people to sign on to this petition, to go to the proper chain of command to get this petition, submitted to the administration. I mean, they did what you would want a lawyer to do, right? A future lawyer to do. My thinking is that as an attorney, you are an advocate, right? You are an advocate. You are a defender of a cause that's bigger than yourself. And I think that to the point of these 11,300 students, they are advocates because they want their voices heard. So in some way, shape, or form, even if the administration decides, hey, we're going to consider the student voice, at the end of the day, there should be something more. But then I can't help but think, folks, that GW, by them having a Supreme Court justice working for the the university, that's a big win politically, financially. That's a big win. So you got all these dynamics. How do you think that this situation should have been handled? Again, Clarence Thomas is not teaching there. He bowed out. But students who wanted to not see him there organized. Do you think that GW Law School handled the situation correctly? All right, let's go to your thoughts. Hear what you got to say around this situation. Janine L. Janine, good to hear from you, sis. I'm glad you joined us for this conversation. Janine, you said ain't nobody trying to hear from his simple ass. No way. Well, look, you know what? If he is willing to have a conversation to give me an understanding of how he's thinking, you know what I mean? Like that might be a good opportunity to really test your law skills, being able to, understand his thinking. And if you disagree with him, to say, okay, what is my rebuttal to that? But let him explain himself. What was his thinking? And I mean, for the next generation who may not have a full understanding of the history of how we even got to the place of Roe v. Wade, for the next generation that may not have an understanding of the full implications of this, for the next generation that maybe that who are just getting, I would say, just becoming familiar with the ongoing struggle of women reproductive rights, women's right to choose. This could be, it still could be an enlightening opportunity. So it's easy to write him off, but since it's in a university structure where there are going to be some guidelines, some rules on engagement on and how to have the conversation, it might still be something worthy. But I understand, but for a future lawyer, this could help them to shape their politics, right? And essentially become better lawyers. All right, let's go to the next person. Lana checked in and said, oh, he's really going to be hurt behind that move. No, he ain't going to be hurt, Lana. You also said that school don't care what did the alumni say? That's where the money's coming from, and money rules America. Those students have no voice. That could be the pushback. That would be the big pushback for me. If you know your child, your grandchild, your niece, your nephew was able to organize and get 11,000 plus signatures, and then the school, the institution that they organized against, don't seem to have budged on those interests, that's when the alumni should get involved. If I was an alumni of GW Law School, I would be like, okay, I understand the administration stance, but I'm wondering, how will student voice be cultivated here from this point forward? Okay, fine. You decided not to terminate the employment or sever the ties with Clarence Thomas. Okay. But you got 11,000 students that said that they didn't agree. How are they going to be dealt with? And how will future student voice be handled in the future for other issues? I think that's the role the alumni can play. Lana, good to talk to you, and I appreciate you for checking in. Brother King Lee, you checked in. You said, in all fairness, no, they shouldn't have shut down Justice Clarence Thomas. I don't agree with his politics, but the University Academy is about discussing varying views and opinions. Absolutely. Absolutely. See, I think that's part of the problem in the country that we are experiencing right now, that if you don't agree with someone, that you just totally shut them out. Now, his explanation for why he has the views, it still may not make sense to you, and that's fine. But we need to create a space where varying views can be discussed. So that way there is at least that much. Because my concern is, okay, if we're creating a space where no one wants to talk to no one because of the ideology, we're going to have a very real problem, not in the distant future, but in the near future. So now we're creating like these silos, these spaces where only we are going to we're going to only be around people that think like us. I'm telling you, folks, and y'all can share with me your thoughts on this. I think that that's a dangerous, dangerous slope for any one of us to be in. To only be surrounded by like-minded people. And I'm talking about, I'm not talking about what's your favorite, kind of ice cream. I'm talking about if you are only surrounded by people who see the world pretty much through the same lens that you look through, how can we make any progress? How can we get any further along? How can we move the needle if that's the only way we're able to engage with one another? If people were to say, for example, that this American experiment that we are currently all a part of, right? That the beauty of the American experiment is diversity of people, diversity of thoughts, diversity of ideals and values. And then not just having the diversity present, but also trying to figure out a way where our diversity doesn't become a liability to the overall progress of the country. That's, I think, is the ever-present goal, that we come from different places, we are different people, but how do we find a common place to still try to meet all of the varying interests that we have? And I think that's the great work that is before each and every American, not just the American government, not just a nonprofit organization or a school or even a corporate, a business. The real goal for every American adult, that is, right, is to try to figure out a way that we can take our differences, use them, consider them, but not let them become a stumbling block for our progress. That's the real goal. And I think that for political leaders today, that should be the goal. All right, let's go back to the phone, not the phone lines, to the comments, excuse me. Janine, you checked in and said, look, I get the point of debate, and in real life, people disagree. However, him being on SCOTUS, all of the hypocrisy and treasonous pillow talk with his wife, he needs to have all of the seats. Yeah, I get it. And the thing about the wife situation with Jenny Thomas, no one knows. Like, I mean, there hasn't been, as far as we know right now, there hasn't been any real movement on, penalizing her for that type of engagement and activity. But I get it. I definitely get it. And again, maybe Clarence Thomas, this is not the sword that we need to fall on, right? This may not be the example that we need to have or can use to prop up this idea of having a different viewpoint and making sure that students are exposed to different viewpoints. Maybe this is not the one, But I think that we should be mindful that, especially, and you remember, if you went to college, right, you know that it is the college environment, the college space, that is the space that will often, that we hear differing ideas. A lot of us got our consciousness because of the college experience that we had. Even if you didn't graduate from college, if you have the opportunity to just listen to people from different places, different backgrounds, different ethnicities and nationalities, that shaped your personal politics. And it helped you to grow and to understand and to see the world differently outside of the world that was shaped by those closest to you, like your parents, your grandparents, and other family members and your friends. So there is some real benefit to being exposed to some different things. Janine, appreciate you. Thank you so much, sis. Taylor, you said, I'm glad things turned out as they did. I don't think the students would have been respectful of Thomas in a classroom setting. And guess what, Taylor? That may not be a bad thing. That might be the wake-up call that he needs. He can be operating in a bubble, which I really believe he is, folks. I think Clarence Thomas is operating in such a bubble that sometimes, you need a wake-up call. So you make a decision, a major decision like Roe v. Wade, and then you're thinking you're doing the right thing, or you thinking, oh man, I'm doing what the quote-unquote American people wants me to do. And then you find out you made a wrong decision, or you didn't consider this, or you don't understand the impact that it has on the next generation. I mean, sometimes that's all you need to get you out of your bubble. So, I don't think that we should miss an opportunity to wake up political leadership, because sometimes, when you in something for so long, at first you could be revolutionary. You might have seen this, folks, in a lot of different industries, not just in politics, but in a lot of different spaces. You come into the space wanting to change, wanting to be innovative, wanting to be dynamic, right? You come into the space wanting to do all of these things and having all these great ideas. And some of the things you are able to do and some of the things you can't do, and it is what it is. But after doing those things and after being in this space for such a long time, you become what they say in politics, they say you become the incumbent. And then in some cases, you become the new standard. And then that fire for change, that fire for innovation, that fire for wanting to make a difference starts to diminish a little bit because you become comfortable too. And I think that there's beauty. This is why, to Hassan's point in our last segment, when he talked about term limits, when he talked about change, there is beauty in this idea that you don't stay in a certain position for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. We talked about it here on the show, talking about term limits specifically for Supreme Court justices, right? There's this beauty. Okay, so you got a lifetime appointment. Maybe you cut it down. It's not a lifetime appointment. You die on the bench. No. How about a lifetime could be 20 years. You serve 20 years and then you move on. You serve your time, because 20 years is still a long time now, folks. As much as we advanced and how far we've gotten, let's not think that 20 years is a drop in a bucket. It's still a good amount of time to dedicate your life to a particular cause or institution. So 20 years might be the right thing to do. But what that will help is it will create an opportunity, a space for new ideas to continue to thrive within the institution, and most importantly, allow new ideas and innovative thoughts to continue to be the driving force, right? The motivation for the people that are being served by that institution. So the new idea is always present. I think once you start to remove the terms, or once you start to remove any sense of time, the level of urgency starts to be removed as well. I often talk about how Dr. King, he always emphasized what he called the urgency of now. the urgency of now. And what does that mean? That means that you have a very limited time, a very limited space to create the biggest change, to make the biggest impact. The urgency of now. And if we don't take advantage of the great urgency of now, right, considering everything else that is happening in our country, then what are we doing? The urgency of now also puts us in a space where we can hold ourselves accountable. I was reading an article and I forgot, I think it was either New York Times or USA Today, but I think it was the New York Times. And it was an article about an op-ed about the time of gerontology, the time where we are being called by older individuals, and this is not about ageism, but I'm just using this as a point, that we're being told to by older individuals in our political system, we talked about that, to be patient in the slow, minimum progress that has to be made for the ongoing crisis issues that are burdening not just us and the resources that we have, but that is a huge burden for the next generation, to be patient about that change. And that it has become a hindrance for us to make the type of progress that we need to make. So we have to be very, very mindful about how to use time. Because time is one of those tools, right? You can't stop it. You can't reverse it. So since it's always moving forward, time is one of those things, either you use it with the best of intelligence to create change that is beneficial for as many people as possible, or it can be used in a wicked way to be weaponized against people. And when you're talking about issues that have been around for years in this country, the issues that we often discuss, it seems like time is being weaponized to keep us in a certain space. And the urgency of now will force us to move forward. And I think that's the place that we're in right now. We have to learn how to use time to our advantage and to get things done, because it would not be fair to burden our children, grandchildren, great-grandchildren with the same issues that we have been struggling with for the past 50 years. And then it's not that we can't do it. It's not that at all. It's not even that we don't have the resources to bring a new change into fruition. It's that we don't and haven't gotten the will and have the vision to see something better. And I'm saying collectively. Some of us see it and others don't. And I'm not even talking about a 100% allegiance to this vision, but we got to have the will to do the right thing. All right, let me go to a couple of more before we wrap up this part of the conversation, talking about Clarence Thomas, the power of student voice. Lenora checked in and said, look, we all know why he ended his teaching, because he, as a SCOTUS, is supposed to be neutral, and his decision on Roe v. Wade was strictly political. Well, they already know that. Lenora, I think people already know that he's a conservative. GW definitely knows that. I think that's, I don't know how important that is, that of his political views. But they gain from that. GWU Law School still gains from having one of the most controversial figures in the Supreme Court history, a Black man, to associate it with the school. They're willing to take that hit. What I love about what the students did is saying, we're not willing to take that hit. That's what the students did. But Lenore, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Zoe, let's go to you. You said, I think the better move would have been for students not to sign up for his classes. But I agree, Farajii. It would benefit future law students to sit under him based on his experiences, not his views. Well, let me just tell you again, I agree with you. I think that, like I said, you can, like, you know, even I don't agree with Donald Trump, but I can gain from listening to him and watching him. Right? I don't have to agree. So to your point, so yes, because he's still, whether you're talking about Clarence Thomas, Donald Trump, anybody, right, that on the conservative side, they're still being listened to. And trust and believe, folks, don't think that since you don't listen to them or you don't give their views any merit, that somebody else isn't. Somebody is. Millions of people are still in this country, still believe that Clarence Thomas or Donald Trump or anyone that is in that ideology space, they still say, you know what? No, they're doing something for the culture, right? Even though we don't agree with them. But as law students, and that's why I say this is important as we wrap up this part of the discussion, folks, as law students, you have to be prepared to deal with all of this, because one of the chief roles of a lawyer is to serve as an advocate. And you have to be clear on what it is that you want to advocate, what cause you are willing to stand up for. You got to access that. The law is not just about the practicing of or the interpretation of the law and trying to get cases. There is a very deep moral element to being a lawyer. You have to ask yourself first, am I willing to take this case, even though it may not be morally right? There is a huge burden, or rather emphasis, I'm not going to say burden, now let's say emphasis, on being clear about where you stand. And I think there's also another emphasis about removing your personal biases from a case versus, versus defending a client, whether it's the state or organization or a company or an individual, removing your personal bias and seeing if what they do is in accordance with the law or is it in violation of the law. I mean, there's a lot. So the Clarence Thomas opportunity could have been a great opportunity for students to sharpen their skills, because that's the type of people, and more importantly, that's the type of lawyers that we should be advocating for, lawyers that have been tested while in college, because the last thing we want are more lawyers to come out who are just doing things for financial gain, just for status, instead of doing it for the right thing. All right, we got to take a quick pause. When we come back, let's talk about IG and more. And I also got something for you for trends posting during the month. So stay with us. The Culture will be right back here on the Black Star Network.
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Like, wow, Roland was amazing on that.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared. You dig?
Pull up a chair, take your seat. The Black Tape with me, Dr. Greg Carr, here on the Black Star Network. Every week, we'll take a deeper dive into the world we're living in. Join the conversation only on the Black Star Network.
Don't you think it's time to get wealthy? I'm Deborah Owens, America's Wealth Coach, and my new show on the Black Star Network focuses on the things your financial advisor or bank isn't telling you. So watch Get Wealthy on the Black Star Network.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jackie Hood Martin, and I have a question for you. Ever feel as if your life is teetering and the weight and pressure of the world is consistently on your shoulders? Well, let me tell you, living a balanced life isn't easy. Join me each Tuesday on Black Star Network for A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie. We'll laugh together, cry together, pull ourselves together, and cheer each other on. So join me for new shows each Tuesday on Black Star Network, A Balanced Life with Dr. Jackie.
It's time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Like, wow, Roland was amazing on that.
Hey, Black, I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be Black-owned media and be scared. You dig?
All right, folks, welcome back. All right, let's talk a little bit about technology. Have you noticed that Instagram has been a little bit more complicated to operate? I wonder how many of you are actually on IG. I was on IG, and then I'm going to tell you the truth, folks. I was on IG, had thousands of followers and all that good stuff. And then my account was hacked. And I got one of those hackings. It was like, it was such a headache, such a headache. So I got one of those hackings where people were like getting messages from me, quote unquote, saying, hey, can you vote for me? Hey, this is Farajii. And, you know, it's coming from me. So I don't normally send out those type of messages anyway. So a lot of my IG followers and a lot of my contacts were like, hey, man, I saw this. I was going to vote for you for this thing. And you know, I wanted to check to see if this was like really you or just a scam. So, and I had to, I mean, for weeks, folks, just like, no, it's a scam. Don't follow me, unfollow me. So essentially, you know, I reported it to Meta, you know, formerly Facebook, who runs IG. I reported it and did all of the things they asked me to do. They sent me an email. You gotta write down this number. You gotta take a picture, the whole nine. And so essentially, I just say, all right, let me just create a new account. So if you want to follow me, you can. I just have not been able to get my, I'm going to be honest with y'all, folks, like just to wrap my mind. Like I had accumulated all of these people that I have come across and I've done a lot of work with. And if you never had your account hacked, you know, well, if you have had it hacked, excuse me, you know how much time and effort and just attention that you have to put on to do it, to kind of get to a certain place, right? Now, again, I didn't have like hundreds of thousands of followers or millions of followers. I only had a few thousand, right? So I'm thinking to myself like, man, this is crazy. So if you want to follow me, you certainly can at the real Farajii, because I had to, now I feel like a real celebrity now, because, you know, everybody, the official. But at the real Farajii, whereas before I was just Farajii Muhammad. So all of that to share with you folks that I had my IG hacked and you know, I had to change that. But then I'm also found that there are a number of people who are just not happy with the platform as it stands right now, because they are trying to do a lot of different things, not just dealing with the security side of things. They're doing things where, you know, it's like you could do reels on IG and you can, you know, of course, send messages, and, you know, you can also have a feature on there where you don't show how many people liked your picture. You have a feature to turn that off or keep that on, where you don't have to show that. All of these different things. And now, even though they're doing all these new features, a lot of its older users are saying, how about we just get back to watching cute pictures of our friends? Here's the other part, and this is not on IG, and I think we should have a much larger conversation about it. IG and social media has become this place for me. It feels like you're just flipping through a glossy magazine. It feels like that. You know, it feels like you just, it feels like you just scrolling and everybody's either selling you something. Either you see stupid ass videos. Somebody is always telling you about buying something. I mean, just a lot of, it just seems like some things that make you think twice about getting on the platform. So IG has been trying to figure out all these things, but it's been getting criticized by some of its older and more influential users because of their changes. Now, like I said, they've been doing e-commerce. They're trying to do e-commerce. They're doing messaging. They did a short video form that competes with TikTok. All of these things. And so a lot of the older, more influential IG users and people that use this platform, some people consider to be influencers, you know, content strategists and all them folks, they're getting upset. They're like, what's going on? So there have been a number of high-profile IG users, Kim Kardashian, Kylie Jenner, and now folks are starting to share this graphic. You may have seen it, you may not have seen it, where it's a black and white graphic declaring, make Instagram again. Stop trying to be TikTok. I just want to see cute photos of my friends. Sincerely, everyone. Have you seen this? Have y'all seen this? Like, do you feel like IG has just, in social media, has gotten away from what it was originally intended? And that's a much bigger question, because I feel like all of it has gotten away, not just IG. You know, Facebook, everything has gotten into this other thing. I don't know how to wrap my mind around it. I don't know how to describe it, but I'm going to certainly talk more about it. But this is sort of like the intro discussion, that the things that you want, like I think many of us wanted a place where we feel like we can kind of just take a peekaboo look into people's lives. Now it's becoming this other thing, right? And so many apps are trying to vie for our eyes, our eyeballs, our attention. They want us to use their app to conduct transactions. They want us to use their app to make phone calls. I mean, it's getting to the point, it's a little overwhelming. I'm not even going to just go to war with you about this. I feel like at some point you're just like, you know what? You know what? You know what? I think I'm just going to put the phone down. So Instagram has decided to come out and speak on this. Their head, Instagram head, Mr. Adam Mosseri, he appeared in a IG video and he tried to talk about this. I want to check with my team, Keenan and Lise, if we got that IG video. Just let me know. But it brought me to wonder, are you still logged in? Do you still feel like you're logged in? All right, let's go to some of the, let me hear from some of you. Yeah, let's try to get that. But let me hear from some of you about your relationship with IG and social media really quickly right now. Nicole, always good to hear from you, sis. You said, I am on Instagram now. Something is going on with IG. It has been slow, twitching, shutting down. Yeah. And you know what? It might not be a bad thing, Nicole. You know what I'm saying? Like, we might need a little break. You know what I'm saying? Like, we might just need a little pause. Might not be a bad thing. But I like you say, it's twitching. It's like it's a person just having a problem functioning. Yeah, they might be. They might be making some more changes. The thing about social media companies, they don't tell you when the changes are actually taking place. They don't send out an email or they don't send out a message and say, hey, guys, you know, some companies, they say from this time to this time, maintenance will be taking place. Please bear with us. They don't say those things, right? They just start making some changes. The next thing you know, you're posting something and you got to figure out how to post it. That's the way it works. Nicole, thank you so much for checking in. Chris V, you said, look, man, I had my Twitter account hacked a long time ago, but I hardly ever tweet on there. Luckily, nothing real malicious was done. Yeah. When my account was hacked, you know, like I said, people were asking me if they should vote for me and all that. And then guess what, Chris? Some people actually voted. And then guess what, Chris? Their accounts were hacked. I feel bad. I did. I felt bad. I was like, please don't do it. Please don't do it. And they was like, well, one person got mad at me. So how can you tell me to vote for you and then you do this to my account? I said, sis, I didn't tell you to vote for me. It came from your account. That's what hacking is. It comes from your account, from somebody that you are friends with, and they ask you to do something. But if it looks suspicious, you should let the person know before you make a decision. You shouldn't be putting out this message, Farajii. I didn't. I didn't. It wasn't me. Wasn't me. I didn't do it. I feel like Shaggy. It wasn't me. So I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. If you got your account was hacked as a result of my account, trust and believe, I'm very sorry about that. I did not do that. That was not intentional, but it happens, right? That's the nature of these things. Sometimes your stuff gets hacked. Sometimes people get your information, and that's the risk that we all take. All right, Chris, I appreciate you. Brother King Lee, You said, I've never been hacked, but a good friend of mine who is a Black American here in Germany was hacked. His marriage ended. Damn. Due to some folks sending his wife bogus email messages about. Damn. Damn, King. Wait a minute. Put that. Whoo. King, we ain't got enough time, brother, to deep dive into that situation. Your friend, his marriage ended as a result of somebody hacking his account. I got so many questions, King. I got so many questions. But wow, that is unfortunate. Can you imagine that you getting some crazy messages and your significant other, this you? And you're like, no, baby. You try. I'm not laughing at that man's pain. I'm trust me, believe me, not knowing that. I'm just, it sounds like you. like, oh, and this is what you were doing at night? When you were working? You'd be like, I was just sending emails. Like, no, baby, it wasn't. That is unfortunate. That is really, really unfortunate. Wow. Man, that is unfortunate. I don't know how to respond to that, bro. That is really unfortunate. Yeah, that's how hacking, I think that's the extreme end. I think it could be a disturbance or inconvenience, but that just completely shut somebody down. That's wow. All right, Janelle, you checked in and said that happened to my brother every once in a while. The hacker sends out messages from his old account, still impersonating him. Yeah, that's what's happening with me. What happened with me. So if you get a message from Farajii Muhammad, trust and believe it's not me. But even more so than that, IG is in this place where it's trying to figure things out. All right, let's go to Danita, and then I want to play this quick video from the IG man. I said the IG man, the head of IG. I'm sorry. Danita checked in. You said, let's hope the platform that Tiffany Haddish is affiliated with that was on RMU, Roland Martin Unfiltered yesterday will eventually have its own IG. Yeah, we do have to, I think to that point, Danita, we often talk about where are the Black-owned apps, where are the, I think that there needs to be a very, very different conversation in general about social media usage. And I just think that a lot of that is, again, for us, and I'm not saying us as Black people, I'm saying us in general, like, if you're getting older, you're like, okay, it had its run. Like, I don't know for y'all, I might be at that place, like, okay, it's had its run. Like, I'm almost getting old school, and y'all might be tripping off of this. I'm always getting old school to be like, yo, just bring back the home phones, the landlines, bro, and you catch me on a landline. Does anybody else just want like a landline? Like all this information, is it really making things better? That's a bigger question, new topic. But that's how I feel. Like, remember back in the day, my wife and I were talking about this the other day, and she was just like, remember landlines? I was like, yeah. Like, if you didn't pick up the phone, just know that, or leave a message. You know what I mean? Like, catch me on a landline. That's almost a place. I get it. Things are we love for things to be in a more advanced, more far along. But then there are some consequences to that. Like, I just don't want to always be attached to my phone. Something is inherently just disturbing about that. Like, I feel like my whole world is in the palm of my hand. Like, I don't need that. Actually, I need to see the world around me. I don't need to always look through the phone. I know. It's my little small revolution, folks. My little small revolution. All right, let's play this video very quickly of the head of IG, Mr. Adam Mosseri, on the changes that they're making and the inconveniences these changes are causing. Check this out. All right, we got to get some sound up on this. See, even IG sound is messing up. Keenan, at least let me know when the sound is available. Just let me know if we can get the sound on the video. I appreciate y'all for that. All right, let's go to DeAndre. DeAndre, what's your take on this IG situation? You said you can literally find people on social media, which can be dangerous due to how folks like to expose themselves and show lifestyles and activities. There are many ways around to do it, though. Yeah, I do find that to be interesting. I do find that to be very interesting. Like, yeah, I that's crossed my mind, actually, DeAndre, where I was like, man, you really, and I get it. And I think that there is this view that social media is only for the people that you are in your network with, not knowing that everything is public. So essentially, any information is up for grabs in this day and time, folks. Any information is up for grabs in this day and time. So if you say, hey, I'm at the beach, y'all check me out at Malibu Beach. I'm in the green chair wearing the orange boxers, the orange trunks. You know what I'm saying? Sipping a matcha or something. You're like, it's just too much information. Too much information. But there is a great security concern. All right. Let me see here. What else we got? Janae. Janae said, actually about to get rid of my landline, DeAndre, because I worked for, I guess, VZ and Verizon. It wasn't much, especially per the bundle. I'm assuming that you're saying, Janae, Verizon, VZ. You about to get rid of your landline. Okay. Janine said, look, it's intentional not taking your phone everywhere you go or when you're out. Photos aren't needed. Everything doesn't need to be shared on social media. Everything doesn't need to be a moment. Y'all sound like y'all. Are we talking about a quiet revolution? Because that's what I'm hearing. Janine, I'm with you. I think it's funny. Here's one of the things that I do when me and the family go out. First, I put the phone down. But two, I look around to see how many people do have their phones. And then see, like, especially like if you see people on a date night, so you can kind of tell somebody's on date night, right? You see two people on date night, you'd be like, Because like my wife and I, we play this little game like, they're not talking much. That's not going to be a good ending to the date. So it depends. So Chris, you said, Chris V, I hardly post live where I am at. That just gives someone a chance to rob your place that they know you won't be home soon. That's just like black folks, Chris. That's just like black folks always thinking about the worst, man. Man, oh man, white supremacy, Chris. White supremacy. I always thinking about somebody. No, I'm just joking, Chris. Just trust and believe. Safety concerns and security is super, super important. So yeah, I would definitely agree. Mike Green, my bank at the time, Wells Fargo, got hacked and it caused me to crash my computer. There, IT said the virus is in your hard drive. Nothing we could do. Yeah, damn. That's the other side of. Really the other side of all of this technology. Like all of this information, all of this data is it overloads the systems that we are on in other places, right? And then it leaves open these gaping holes of vulnerability. So I think that's certainly something there. So yeah, Mike, my heart goes out to you, bro. I hope everything worked out for you. Your money wasn't dealt with real bad. Who else? Folks are checking in. Oh, Mingley Natasha Surge, you said haven't had a landline in years. I feel you. But you know what though? There is still benefit to the landline. There are benefits to the landline. And I think that we should certainly talk about it in another conversation. So as we wrap up, if you're having problems with IG, as you saw, we just had little technical issues with the video, and it's all good. You know what I mean? That might not be a bad thing, because if you still want to see pictures of your friends and just being cute, that's fine. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. But I think we should be more intentional, and this is going to be my message throughout, folks. So you might hear me say this once or a few more times. Just be intentional about our social media usage. right? Just because there are things that are happening, not just around you, but there are things happening within you, right? That is triggered by social media. And I think it might just be, as you grow, a maturity thing. Like after a while, you're just getting to a point like, you know what? It's okay to not always put myself out there. It's okay to not let everybody know what I'm doing. It's okay for me to not check in and see what everyone else is doing. It's okay. It's not the end of the world if I'm not on social media for a day or two. Oh my God, I haven't posted my face that people haven't seen since 12 hours ago. I posted that picture 12 hours ago. Now I look different from this side. We will see if IG fixes the problem, and more importantly, if it really causes people to drop off the platform. But trust and believe, a lot of these platforms are struggling to try to keep their users engaged, and we got to be intentional about that. All right, folks, I appreciate y'all for riding with me this afternoon. I thank my culture crew member, Hassan Giordano. Thank my fantastic team. I want to thank my team of Joel and Shannon and Lise now, and my man Keenan and Ariel. I thank all of them. But we are continuing to do our work here at the Black Star Network. Have you checked out our new show? I've talked about it before, but I'm going to keep pushing it out there. Black Star Network continues to grow, continues to get the support that it needs. So check out the new show, The Pivot, with Stephanie Humphrey, Tech Life with Steph. We've had her on this program, but she talks about making those life-changing decisions to get your life in a new direction. So definitely check that out. Also, some very popular content right now that is streaming is the content of Brother Roland at the grand opening of the Jackie Robinson Museum. If you have not had a chance to take a look at that content, make sure you do. And all of that is streaming right now and can be streamed on Black Star Network. Make sure you show your support for us at blackstarnetwork.com. Your support means everything. Your shares mean everything. And most importantly, your subscription, free subscription, means everything to us. Make sure that you show up for us as we continue to strive to show up for you each and every day with the content, with the guests, and with the information that's going to move our people in our community forward, because Black media absolutely matters. So continue to show your support and love for blackstarnetwork.com. All right, that's going to do it for me. I thank each and every one of you. Stay tuned at the 6 o'clock Eastern Standard Time hour. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. It's Thursday night, so you know you're going to get a Power Pack night with my former team, Reese, Dr. Carr. You know they're going to bring it on Thursday nights. So make sure y'all show y'all support for RMU. As always, never be afraid to challenge what's wrong, stand for what's right, while being yourself in the process. God willing, we'll talk tomorrow for another exciting edition of The Culture right here on the Black Star Network. Thank you so much, family, for tuning in. Be peaceful and be blessed. Peace.